This is the IGCSE Success Overflow. And welcome to O500 IGCSE First Language English. Paper 1, Reading, Question 3. Report Writing. Dear learner, in today's lesson we will focus on Paper 1, Question 3, the extended response to reading. Question 3 requires that you should write 250 to 350 words. You will read a given text, commonly labeled Text C, and then modify, use, and develop ideas from the text, using your own words, into one of the following 6 text types. 1. A letter. 2. A report. 3. A journal. 4. A speech. 5. An interview. 6. An article. Let's see a sample question 3, and today we will mainly focus on report writing as one of the 6 text types. In later videos I will talk about the other 5. Our sample question 3 reads: You are Edgar. That night you write the report that your boss has asked for about the work that Meet and Greet team do. In your report you should 1. Explain what the role of meeting and greeting passengers involves at present. 2. Evaluate potential problems for both Meet and Greet staff and passengers. 3. Suggest how the experiences of both passengers and Meet and Greet staff could be improved. Write the words of the report. Base your speech on what you have read in Text C, but be careful to use your own words. Address each of the 3 bullet points. Write about 250 to 350 words. Up to 15 marks are available for the content of your answer, and up to 10 marks for the quality of your writing. First, let us read Text C as directed, then I will share important insights on how you can go about Question 3 in general, for any of the text types, and how best to produce a report based on the sample. Question here. Here is Text C.
Read Text C, and then answer questions 2A, D, and question 3 on the question paper. Text C, the new job. This text is about a young person called Jeswin, who has just started to work for an airline company called Golden Tours, as part of their airport meet and greet team. Jeswin is being looked after on his first day by a senior member of the team, Edgar. Edgar laid his large hand on Jeswin's small shoulder and strode onto the wide departures concourse, as Jeswin tripped and danced to keep up with him. You're going to be very busy today, Edgar announced, an ironic grimace contorting his round face. Edgar stopped suddenly and twisted Jeswin's shoulder through a dizzying 180 degrees so that Jeswin could see the workplace. The concourse at present was eerily silent. It comprised many empty roped-off labyrinths that passengers would negotiate before they reached the check-in desk, where their luggage would be surrendered into the safe hands of Golden Tours staff and deposited in the cargo area of the plane. Jeswin wriggled to detach himself from Edgar's large hand. He had been attached, in a more figurative sense, today to Edgar to learn his job, making sure that the passengers had the documents they needed to fly, showing them where to take their luggage, and giving helpful and friendly advice. Edgar's expression began to radiate mild exasperation, and Jeswin turned to see its focus. A small knot of passengers wandering uncertainly towards the Golden Tours check-in area. Their luggage trolley was performing a shaky dance, not dissimilar to the movements of Jeswin's own feet a few minutes earlier. A small child hung onto its side trying to deter 3 disobedient suitcases from unscheduled disembarkation. Jeswin immediately understood that this family might need support. I've got a report to write for the boss tonight, huffed Edgar. Apparently she doesn't know what our job involves. He marched towards the group. Good morning. Your documents, please, so I can make sure they are in order before you drop your luggage off. Edgar flipped through identity documents with the dexterity of a master player shuffling a deck of cards before surveying the 3 suitcases. Take it you packed those suitcases yourselves and they haven't been out of sight since you got here. Go to the roped area over there. Shouldn't be too long to wait. Now a few more groups were drawing closer. Jeswin approached the nearest group and followed the routine. This continued throughout the morning, meeting and greeting passengers bound for numerous destinations. Edgar had also told him to watch out for unattended luggage and report such items to him. This worried Jeswin. It felt like too much to focus on at once, especially as there seemed to be a lot of luggage around. Generally, though, Jeswin was pleased with himself. He was not as fast as Edgar, of course, but he remembered the meet and greet procedure, and he felt his courteous manner and diligence paid off, as he often received smiles and thanks in return. Edgar, on the other hand, was becoming more irritable. 15 minutes for lunch, as usual, he grumbled. I've hardly seen you this morning, young man. Has everything been all right? Suddenly a shout came up from one of the queues. Hey! That man tried to steal my wallet. An angry-faced accuser stood, finger aimed at an older man behind him. Edgar immediately intervened. Have we got a thief? He demanded. No, I'm not a thief. I'm a little unsteady on my feet, and I fell over. The older man's chin wobbled as he spoke, and Jeswin saw his eyes blinking rapidly. Surely he was innocent. Let me help, Jeswin said. There is probably some mistake here, but you, sir, have had a bit of a shock and need reassuring about your possessions. So I am going to ask Leo over there to let you put your luggage in right now. Meanwhile, you, sir, mustn't keep standing in this uncomfortable way. I am going to carry your suitcase over there to Maria. As Jeswin returned from Maria's desk, he saw Edgar smiling in approval. Well handled, young man. You've given me some ideas for this report I've got to write.
Back to question 3. You are Edgar. That night you write the report that your boss has asked for about the work that meet and greet team do. In your report you should explain what the role of meeting and greeting passengers involves at present. Evaluate potential problems for both meet and greet staff and passengers. Suggest how the experiences of both passengers and meet and greet staff could be improved. Write the words of the report. Base your speech on what you have read in text C, but be careful to use your own words. Address each of the 3 bullet points. Up to 15 marks are available for the content of your answer, and up to 10 marks for the quality of your writing. How to answer question 3. This question requires you to write a formal report about the role of the meet and greet team for Golden Tours. The purpose of the report is for Edgar to give feedback to his boss about the current responsibilities of the team, the problems encountered, and make suggestions for improvements. The 3 bullet points in the question are meant to give you guidance to help you identify relevant ideas for your report, and to structure it helpfully. The first and second bullets require you to retrieve or find relevant information from the text and adapt it, change it, modify it to fit the requirements of the report you are going to write. The third bullet point requires you to infer or work out based on what you read, what improvements could be made to enhance the experiences of both customers and staff. In other words, for bullet point 3 you will not directly find points in the texts, but you need to infer. To infer means to make your conclusions based on evidence in the text and your sound reasoning. You therefore must show that you generally understood the text and addressed the task by using some of the main ideas to support your response. You have to develop the ideas by writing in a credible style for a formal report, evaluating the ideas in the text and adapting them accordingly. If you follow the bullet points carefully, you will be able to develop explicit and implicit ideas effectively to write a constructive and informative report about the role and experiences of the Golden Tours meet and greet team and how it could be improved in the future. It's a good thing to address the bullet points in chronological order, as this will help you to structure your response coherently. Avoid being unselective. In other words, do not just pick any point to use. You have to be very selective, only picking from the text what the bullet points have asked you. Also, do not simply paraphrase the text without adapting the style, because you will end up offering a rather narrative account of Edgar. and Jeswin's experiences with little sense of the purpose or audience. Bullet 1. Explain what the role of meeting and greeting passengers involves at present. This bullet point invites you to explain what the role of meeting and greeting passengers currently involves. It is asking you to look at the Edgar and Jeswin's actions in the text and pick out relevant ideas. The best responses is one that selects appropriate ideas, such as getting to the check-in area before the customers arrive, welcoming them in a courteous manner, checking that all documentation is present, advising me on where to take your luggage, and spotting where customers needed extra help, support, or advice. Such responses recognize that in response to this bullet point, they were focusing on the day-to-day duties involved in the role. A poor answer, for example, is one that will simply copy lines 11 to 12 from the text. Be careful not to misread the first bullet, and do not mix, confuse, or disarrange the role of the meet and greet team with the check-in staff. You must also not use your own experiences of being at an airport instead of focusing on the text. Bullet 2 reads, evaluate potential problems for both meet and greet staff and passengers. This bullet point offers you an opportunity to identify potential problems for members of the team and passengers by looking carefully at the text and selecting appropriate examples to adapt and modify for use in the report. The best responses will carefully select and remodel or modify the points to suit a report. You should also be able to cite the confusing layout of the check-in area, long queues for customers, and the unsteady trolleys. In terms of problems for the staff, you can develop ideas around the overwhelming nature of the job with too many responsibilities, leading to very brief breaks and the potential for luggage or get lost or security to be compromised. You will also observe that Edgar was training Jeswin when trying to also do his job. Also, the conflicts between passengers needing to be sorted out too is a challenge worth noting. These ideas should not be left without supporting details from the text, such as the roped-off areas, wobbly trolley wheels, 15-minute lunch break, and confusion about the stolen wallet. Do not simply focus on the misunderstanding between the passengers and Jeswin's intervention, giving a narrative account of the incident rather than using it as an example of a wider problem. Do not also fall into the trap of ignoring the text, and instead using your own experiences of being at an airport to address the second bullet, as this will cost you. Another trap to avoid is using the wrong text, text B instead of text C, to outline problems caused by passengers on a plane, which was clearly irrelevant in this task. Now let's look at bullet 3, which reads, suggest how the experiences of both passengers and the meet and greet staff could be improved. When responding to the third bullet, to be successful you will need to use the problems you identified for bullet 2 and suggested solutions to remove or improve them. Find a way of making very good links and enhancing the cohesive structure of your report. Pick out a range of clues from throughout the text to develop appropriate ideas, citing issues such as the lack of time to train staff, the difficulty keeping an eye out for unattended luggage while dealing with customers. You should then, for example, suggest designated training sessions and added security staff as potential solutions. Increased staffing and the need for better breaks and designated responsibilities can be another good solution to cite. You may also suggest that training should be improved. Also, you can suggest that the layout of the concourse should be made less confusing for passengers, or that improved signage may help people to be more confident about the route through the airport. Other solutions can include simply replacing damaged luggage trolleys and offering more support to families with children, or special check-in desks for elderly people following the misunderstanding with the elderly passenger accused of stealing. All in all, your answers to this bullet point should have range or variety, and should avoid making very general suggestions not really linked to ideas in the text. Be careful to give each bullet point equal attention. Remember that even whether reading texts are talking about the same or related topic, Question 3 is strictly based on text C only, and you must not get ideas from text B or text A. Using ideas from other texts leads to a loss of reading focus. You should demonstrate that you know the format of a report. A report is usually informative, and the tone and register or level of language should be formal. Avoid writing in a rather plain narrative style that simply relies on the sequencing of the original text, and simply just describing what Edgar and Jeswin did that day. Your report should also reveal that you know your audience and purpose. Observe accuracy and fluency so that you do not end up with some awkward expression caused by errors in grammar and punctuation. You are advised to check through your work carefully to correct errors where possible. It's serious error to simply lift chunks of text or phrases and sentences from the passage. Here is some more advice. To you. On question 3. 1. Read text C carefully, more than once, to ensure sound understanding. 2. Briefly plan your response to ensure that you are selecting ideas relevant to all 3 bullets. For example, you may label each bullet point with a letter or number, and find points for each bullet in text C, labeling each point according to the bullet point number or letter. 3. Do not refer to any ideas in texts A and B. 4. Pay careful attention to the required text type, its style, purpose, and audience, and register. 5. Do not invent information and material that is not clearly linked to the details and events in the text. 6. Give equal attention to all 3 bullet points. Do not spend time on one bullet at the expense of the other, and do not have points for one bullet and forget the other. 7. Remember to look for ideas and clues throughout the text to develop for the 3rd bullet. 8. Avoid copying from the text. Use your own words as far as possible, but not your own ideas from your knowledge of the topic. 9. Remember to use ideas and details from the text, but to adapt and develop them appropriately to create a convincing voice and new perspective. 10. Leave some time to check through your response. 11. Do not waste time counting the words. The suggested word length is a guide, not a limit. If you know how many words on average you write per line, you can easily estimate how many lines you need to raise the number of words required. But most importantly is the content in those words that will earn you marks. The end. Thank you and see you in my next video. In the meantime, you may take a look at a sample report here, though it's not really related to the question we have been dealing with, but it will help you understand language, style, and structure even more. Goodbye.